Folks, when you think of Puritans, what comes to mind? Buckled shoes, big hats, faces longer than a Sunday sermon. Maybe you picture them as the ultimate party poopers, right? The kind of people who would frown at a dance and scowl at a joke. But what if I told you there was more to these folks than meets the eye? Yep, those were the party animals of the 17th century. Just kidding. They were known for their strict moral codes and somber lifestyles. But believe it or not, they had their own ways of having fun and expressing joy, even if it wasn't in the ways we might expect today. But seriously, behind those pious facades and aversion to fun, except of course for public hangings, always a good time, the Puritans had some surprisingly progressive views on a topic that still makes people blush. Sex. Yes, you heard that right. The same people who were so strict about public morality had some rather open-minded views when it came to the private matters of the bedroom. That's right, my friends. These were not the sexually repressed prudes history often paints them to be. In fact, they believed that sexual intimacy was a gift from God, meant to be enjoyed within the sanctity of marriage. They saw it as a way to strengthen the marital bond and fulfill God's command to be fruitful and multiply. Turns out they were more like, hey, God created the birds and the bees, and he told us to be fruitful and multiply, so let's get busy. They believed that a healthy sexual relationship was essential for a happy marriage, and that denying one's spouse was not just unkind, but downright sinful. Of course, they did it all within the confines of marriage and with a healthy dose of theological justification. They had strict rules about when and how intimacy should occur, but they also believed that it was a vital part of a godly life. They even had church leaders who would counsel couples on how to improve their marital relations. But still, who knew those buckle hats hid such spicy secrets? It's fascinating to think that beneath those austere exteriors, there was a recognition of the importance of love and intimacy. They might have worn somber clothes and lived by strict rules, but they also understood the human need for connection and affection. Hold on to your hats, folks, because we're about to delve into the steamy side of Puritan life, or at least as steamy as it gets when you consider they wore woolen undergarments in summer. Imagine trying to keep the romance alive while dressed in layers of heavy, itchy fabric. Yet they managed to find ways to express their love and maintain their relationships. We're going to uncover the shocking truth about Puritan sex, baby-making, and why denying your spouse was like committing a sin against both your partner and the Almighty. Stay tuned. We'll explore how their beliefs shaped their intimate lives and what we can learn from their surprising views on love and marriage. So, get ready for a journey into the private lives of the Puritans, where we'll reveal the secrets they kept behind closed doors. Now, the Puritans took their Bible seriously. They believed it was the ultimate guide to living a righteous life, and they adhered to its teachings with unwavering dedication. I mean, they practically invented the concept of serious. Their stern expressions and no-nonsense attitudes were legendary, and they applied this same seriousness to every aspect of their lives, including marriage. And when it came to marriage, they saw it as a sacred covenant ordained by God. This wasn't just a social contract or an economic arrangement, it was a holy union that required commitment, respect, and mutual support. But here's where things get interesting. Part of that covenant involved a little something called marital debt. This concept was deeply rooted in their religious beliefs and had significant implications for their daily lives. Now, before you start picturing Puritans in powdered wigs hounding each other for shillings, let me explain. Marital debt wasn't about money, it was about something much more, shall we say, stimulating. Marital debt wasn't about money, it was about something much more, shall we say, stimulating. It referred to the belief that both husbands and wives had a God-given right to enjoy physical intimacy within the bonds of holy matrimony. It referred to the belief that both husbands and wives had a God-given right to enjoy physical intimacy within the bonds of holy matrimony. This wasn't just a suggestion, it was considered a duty, a responsibility that each partner owed to the other. That's right, folks, a right. The Puritans believed that denying your spouse their marital debt was not only unfair, but also sinful. It was like stiffing them on a restaurant bill, except instead of getting a dirty look from the waiter, you were risking your immortal soul. To deny your spouse their marital debt was like stiffing them on a restaurant bill, except instead of getting a dirty look from the waiter, you were risking your immortal soul. They believed that refusing your partner could lead to temptation and sin. And nobody wants to mess with that, especially when your eternity is on the line. They believed that refusing your partner could lead to temptation and sin, and nobody wants to mess with that, especially when your eternity is on the line. This concept of marital debt ensured that both husbands and wives felt valued, respected, and dare I say it, satisfied. This concept of marital debt ensured that both husbands and wives felt valued, respected, and dare I say it, satisfied. It was a far cry from the view of marriage as a purely economic or social arrangement. The Puritans saw it as a partnership where both parties had rights and responsibilities, and this included the right to physical intimacy. It was a far cry from the view of marriage as a purely economic or social arrangement. The Puritans saw it as a partnership where both parties had rights and responsibilities, and this included the right to physical intimacy. They believed that a healthy marital relationship was essential for a stable and godly community. So, the next time you hear someone say Puritans, don't just think buckle hats and frowning, think pioneers of marital bliss. They were ahead of their time in recognizing the importance of mutual satisfaction and respect in marriage. Their notion of marital debt might seem quaint today, but it was a revolutionary idea that helped shape modern views on marital relationships. Here's where things get really wild. The Puritans didn't just tolerate pleasure within marriage, they actively encouraged it. Shocking, I know. You might be picturing the Puritans as these stern, joyless figures, but they had a surprisingly progressive view on marital intimacy. They believed that the bond between husband and wife was sacred, and that physical pleasure was a divine gift meant to be enjoyed. This wasn't just a private belief either. It was something they openly discussed and wrote about. But hold on to your britches, because it gets even crazier. The Puritans saw the act of lovemaking as a way to honor God. Yes, you heard that right. They believed that by enjoying each other's company in the most intimate way, they were fulfilling a divine commandment. This was not just about procreation. It was about celebrating the love and connection that God had blessed them with. They believed that enjoying the act of procreation was a way to honor God. This was a radical departure from the more austere views of other religious groups at the time. The Puritans saw marital intimacy as a form of worship, a way to strengthen the spiritual and emotional bond between husband and wife. They even had religious texts that encouraged couples to find joy and satisfaction in each other. That's right, folks. Getting busy wasn't just about making babies, though that was certainly a bonus in the days before birth control and modern medicine. It was about creating a loving, supportive partnership that could withstand the trials and tribulations of life. The Puritans understood that a strong marital bond was essential for a stable family and community. They believed that mutual pleasure was a key component of that bond. It was about strengthening the marital bond, expressing love and affection, and fulfilling your God-given duties. They saw marriage as a partnership where both partners had responsibilities to each other, including the responsibility to ensure each other's happiness and well-being. This included physical intimacy, which they saw as a natural and important part of a healthy marriage. And if you happened to experience a little bit of earthly delight in the process, well, that was just a little slice of heaven on earth. The Puritans believed that earthly pleasures, when enjoyed within the bounds of marriage, were a foretaste of the joys of heaven. They saw no contradiction between enjoying life's pleasures and living a devout, religious life. In fact, they believed that the two were deeply interconnected. Now, I know what you're thinking. Stephen, are you sure you're not making this stuff up? It sounds almost too good to be true, right? But the historical records are clear. The Puritans were very open about their beliefs regarding marital intimacy. They wrote extensively about it and even included it in their religious teachings. And I say to you, my friend, I wish I were. But the truth is often stranger than fiction. The Puritans were a complex and multifaceted group, and their views on marriage and intimacy are just one example of that complexity. They believed that a happy, fulfilling marriage was a reflection of God's love, and that it was their duty to cultivate that happiness. The Puritans wrote extensively about the importance of mutual pleasure in marriage. They believed that both partners should find satisfaction and joy in their relationship. This was not just about physical pleasure, but about emotional and spiritual connection as well. They saw marriage as a holistic partnership that encompassed all aspects of life. They even consulted with doctors and ministers to address any, shall we say, performance anxiety that might have been hindering their God-given right to a good time. They took this aspect of their lives very seriously and sought out advice and guidance to ensure that they were fulfilling their marital duties to the best of their abilities. So next time you hear someone say the Puritans were all doom and gloom, remind them that they were also about celebrating the joys of marital bliss. God's work, after all, is never done. They believed that a happy, loving marriage was a testament to their faith and a way to honor God. So in their own way, the Puritans were all about finding joy and fulfillment in life, even in the most unexpected places. Now, you might be picturing stern Puritan fathers marrying off their daughters to the highest bidder or the most devout Bible thumper. But hold your horses. While arranged marriages weren't uncommon, love actually played a surprisingly significant role in Puritan courtship. Yes, you heard that right. These were not emotionless robots programmed to churn butter and recite scripture. They believed love was a gift from God, and finding a compatible partner was essential for a happy and fulfilling marriage. Courtship involved chaperoned visits, long walks in the woods, hopefully not ending in a bear attack, and lots of theological discussions. And while premarital hanky-panky was a big no-no, young couples found ways to express their affections within the boundaries of Puritan propriety. So the next time you see a romantic comedy set in colonial America, don't be surprised if you see a Puritan couple sneaking a kiss behind a haystack. Love, after all, finds a way, even in the buckle-shoed psalm-singing world of 17th century New England.